James Warren Jim Jones was born on May 31st, 1931, in Crete, Indiana, to Lynetta and James Thurman Jones, a disabled World War I veteran. His upbringing was modest, marked by economic hardship and emotional neglect. He described strong spiritual inclinations from a young age, and he was known to practice sermons on neighborhood children and was deeply drawn to Pentecostalism. His early church involvement included working as a hospital orderly and marrying a nursing student, Marceline Baldwin, in 1949. Their interracial, quote, rainbow family, through adoption, would later embody Jones's commitment to racial integration. In 1952, Jones became a student pastor at the Somerset Methodist Church. He gained attention for his charismatic oratory, faith healing, and progressive stance on integration. Conflicts with church leadership eventually led to his departure. The strong influence of black preacher Father Divine shaped his ministry style. Integrated worship, spiritual theatrics, and communal living, all part of his evolving theological and social vision. In 1955, Jones founded his own congregation, originally called Wings of Deliverance, and later renamed the People's Temple Full Gospel Church. He attracted followers with his fiery sermons, healing rituals, some staged, and radical social activism. The temple distinguished itself through its racial integration at the time when segregation was still prevalent. It also engaged in activist-style philanthropy, aid to the poor, soup kitchens, and support for the elderly and the mentally ill. In 1960, the temple aligned with the Disciples of Christ, offering Jones both legitimacy and autonomy. He was ordained in the year 1964. Under Jones, the congregation gained political and civic attention. He served on the Indianapolis Human Rights Commission, desegregating public venues. However, this activism also raised local tensions and hostility towards him and his new, quote, rainbow family. And by the mid-1960s, scrutiny of his methods, particularly the healings, prompted Jones to consider relocating to a more receptive environment. In 1965, Jim Jones relocated to Northern California, specifically Redwood Valley, attracted by its isolation and perceived disaster safety. Around 65 families followed him there. He planted the seeds of his vision: communal living, collectivized resources, and apocalyptic preparation. In the late 1960s and into the early 1970s, saw a rapid expansion into San Francisco and Los Angeles. The temple became a fixture in Bay Area politics and society. Its social programs, homes for vulnerable populations, addiction help, and activism garnered praise from political figures and the media alike. Jones's political alignment grew more overt. He dubbed his philosophy apostolic socialism, a blend of Marxism and Christianity. He severed ties with traditional religion and began claiming personal divinity. By the early 1970s, Jones had become increasingly authoritarian. He demanded financial and emotional loyalty from his followers and controlled their personal lives. Relationships, child rearing, and finances were all policied. His apocalyptic rhetoric escalated. Nuclear annihilation was imminent, he said, and only communal living could save his adherents. In 1974, Jones claimed to have leased land in Guyana to build a utopian colony, free from American oppression. Jonestown was envisioned as a socialist sanctuary, and around 1977, following investigative reports and accusations of abuse in the United States, he relocated about 1,000 of his followers to this remote jungle commune. Life in Jonestown quickly soured: poor conditions, insufficient food, and oppressive surveillance. Followers were subjected to armed guard patrols, draconian rules, and loyalty, quote, white knights, mock suicide drills to ensure obedience. By 1978, public and governmental skepticism prompted California Congressman Leo Ryan and journalists to travel to Jonestown to investigate claims of mistreatment and forced confinement. Several members requested exit and boarded the departing plane. On November 18, 1978, as Ryan's delegation prepared for departure, Jonestown gunmen ambushed them at the airstrip. Ryan and 4 others, including journalists, were killed. Others were wounded. That same day, Jones orchestrated a mass suicide. He convinced or forced his followers to drink a grape-flavored beverage that was laced with cyanide, tranquilizers, and sedatives. Though popularly referred to as Kool-Aid, evidence suggests it was actually Flavor Aid. Armed guards forced children to drink first, followed by adults, under uniformed command. Approximately 918 individuals died that day, including deadly injections of children and infants. Jones himself died of a gunshot wound, likely self-inflicted to avoid capture. Under 100 temple members managed to flee or were absent during the attack. Survivors have since recounted harrowing experiences: coercion, psychological manipulation, deception, and forced compliance. The tragedy prompted widespread media focus, and the phrase "drinking the Kool-Aid" became a grim cultural euphemism for blind compliance. Jonestown remains a pivotal case in understanding destructive cult dynamics, and it illustrates how charismatic leaders manipulate ideology, isolation, fear, and control to catastrophic effect. Studies in psychology and religious movements frequently analyze the People's Temple to understand groupthink and brainwashing. A memorial now stands at Evergreen Cemetery in Oakland, California, honoring the hundreds of Jonestown victims. The site is a place of quiet remembrance, and numerous documentaries, books, scholarly articles, and podcasts explore Jonestown's origins, its rise, its collapse, and the haunting legacy. The tragedy continues to prompt reflection on authority, loyalty, racial justice, and mental health. Jim Jones began his journey as a passionate minister, advocating racial integration and social justice. He leveraged genuine goodwill to attract followers and amassed considerable political influence. However, his increasing obsession with power, his professed divinity, apocalyptic fears, and extreme authoritarian control gradually transformed a movement rooted in equality into an oppressive, closed commune. Tragedy then unfolded in Jonestown. What began as a vision of utopia turned into one of the most horrific mass deaths in modern history, claiming over 900 lives, including young children, under the guise of revolutionary suicide. Jones himself died by a gunshot wound amid the collapse of the community that he controlled.